Hey, it's Kirk. We are end of summer 2023 and just doing some interview questions here about the market in general, some advice, some sharing, and so hope you like it. Okay, questions.
Okay.
Ask away.
Okay. How's the market and where are we at right now?
All right, so we're going to talk about the Parksville-Qualicum beach market because that's where we are. That's where I focus.
Good.
And so right now, the market's still sort of defying the expectations that were set earlier in the year when interest rates were increasing. And to date, right now, we've had 10 interest rate increases. From what the media has been saying and what the experts thought, they thought we would be into recession. They thought prices would be going down. However, that isn't the case. And for Parksville-Qualicum Beach, so for the month of July, the average sale price was only $5,000 less than the highest peak of sales prices back in 2022, which was spring of 2022. So we saw prices go down through the end of 2022, and then probably about February, March of 2023, we saw the rise come back. So good houses are still selling, our inventory is low. Based on the numbers, and the numbers don't lie, we are still in a seller's market. So prices likely to hold or continue to increase based on where we're at right now.
What do you think is likely going to happen with the market this fall?
All right, so moving into the fall market. Now, typically we've had a seasonal summer like normal. We see Parksville-Qualicum Beach, people are on summer holidays, and so the market isn't as busy, fewer listings, fewer sales.
Right.
So this fall, I think what we're likely to see is we'll see more listings hitting the market, and I just know for myself personally, I've got a lot of sellers that are getting ready to put their properties on the market, but not a ton. I don't think we're going to see a huge increase. I also think the buyer demand is going to be there to offset those new listings coming on. So we're currently sitting at just under 400 active listings, and we've been at that number for the last 6 months, so it's been fairly unchanged. So I think if we do go up above 400, now our 10-year average is still closer to 600 active listings, so we're well below that. So we can see listings in listing inventory increase and really not have a huge negative effect as long as buyer demand is there. So this fall, I think it's still going to be relatively strong. I don't see prices dropping. And if anything, the good houses are probably going to continue to appreciate in value.
Okay. Do you have any advice to people thinking about selling?
Yeah, so as far as if you're thinking about selling right now, I think it's a good time. I know you have to take your personal reasons and your personal motivations for selling into account. Why would you sell? What we're seeing right now also is we're seeing a lot of listings that are coming on way above the market value. Right. So people listing their property, the price is too high and they're just sitting. And so if you don't have the motivation to sell, if you're not willing to price it put your home at a price that will cause it to sell, then I really think you need to evaluate whether it makes sense to do that right now.
Right.
In a rapidly appreciating market, which we were at back in 2022, you could do that. You could go at a high price. If you didn't get the price right away, wait a few weeks, you'd get it later. So, and inventory was almost down at zero. So right now, the way the market is, there's other homes that you're competing with. If you're not one or two, number one or two in terms of price, condition, and just the general value that's offered, I think you need to evaluate whether it's the right time to sell. So I think that homes that are priced well are going to continue to sell strong. Overpriced inventory is going to sit.
Okay. Any advice to people thinking about buying?
Yeah, so if you're a buyer right now, it can be really misleading if you're paying attention to the media. And a lot of times the media is even on a Canadian scale right across the country. It's very generalized, but fear sells in the media. So we're always going to hear a lot more negative in the media than positive. And we've been hearing it strongly for the last year, the words like recession or market crash, and the market's done the exact opposite. So there's, these talking heads on TV, especially you get guys like Peter Schiff. They've been talking about a massive market crash as far as real estate's concerned for over 10 years. And yet look at where we're at, right? Okay. However, these people have these huge followings. And there's a lot of people out there sitting, waiting, hoping for a market crash. They want to be right. However, with inflation and the way that our economy works, it's more likely that prices are going to continue up. So if you're a buyer, I think you can feel comfortable going in, entering the market right now. Inventory is low. as far as the numbers are concerned, it does not look like we're going to see any price decreases.
Right.
And if you watch the numbers, you'll know in advance what's happening. And seasonally, however, fall is usually quite strong in Parksville-Qualicum Beach. Once we get into mid to end of November, we'll see that slow down. So the seasonal slowdown will happen, and prices could dip through the winter. But the other thing to remember is if you're buying, that your selection isn't going to be as great during those months. So be fewer homes to choose from. So I think you can feel comfortable and confident. If you find the right home today, go out and pay what you feel is fair. Get the deal done, enjoy it, and live here like everybody else does, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about buy then sell versus sell then buy.
Okay, so there's always the debate, and if you're a homeowner and you're looking to purchase a different home, how you should move forward. So some people will say, well, I want to find my next home first before I put my home for sale. Okay, that's option one. Option two is I'm going to list my home first. Once I know that it's sold, then I'm going to go and buy. Now there's pros and cons to both. Personally, I like to list first, then buy. A couple reasons for that is when you list your property for sale, before you purchase, you're in the driver's seat. You don't have all that stress of trying to sell your home quickly, because if you write an offer on a home before you list, then you're typically going to be in a position of having a time clause, which means that you actually, it's kind of a false sense of security when you have an offer accepted subject to you selling your home. Now, if you're in a position where you can just outright own two homes, that changes things. But if you're in a position where you're writing an offer on your next home subject to the home that you're currently living in selling, that creates a lot of pressure and stress. So a lot of times too, you're going to have to pay a little bit more for that house you're buying if you want that seller to accept that subject to offer. Right, because you haven't sold yet. And then so you might pay a little bit more for that house. And now on the flip side, when you're selling your house, you might accept an offer that's a little bit less on that. So as long as you're okay with that and know that that's likely to happen, then move forward with that. But personally, if you want to go the low stress or lower stress, that is, get your home for sale, be actively looking. Once you get an accepted offer on your house, then go out, write the offer on the home that you want to buy, and get that deal done. You'll be in the driver's seat. You're typically going to be able to get a better deal on the house that you're buying in that situation.
Okay. What are some bad recommendations or advice that you hear being given out right now?
Okay. I think the biggest one in talking with a lot of sellers is, especially if they're interviewing multiple agents, you've got agents that are out there that are looking for listings because listing inventory is low. So as a homeowner, if you're considering selling right now, I think you really need to be cautious with the advice that those agents are giving you, because these agents, there's a lot of agents that aren't doing a lot of business, and so they're desperate to get listings. They will tell you whatever price they think you want to hear in order to get that listing. And then they're going to hammer you and beat you up on the price, moving forward. So you really need to be careful with that. Decide that if you have the motivation to sell and you know that this is something that you want to do, you need to be realistic with the price. So get a professional in there. Make sure they know what they're talking about. Don't just go with the highest price because the agent is telling you what you want to hear. And especially going into the fall market right now, it just creates a lot of unnecessary stress. You need to ask yourself, you own your home, how much is enough, right? So for some people, it's never enough. So they just push their price. But I think if you're in a position, that you would like to move, the motivation is there, price it appropriately. You're going to sell within the average days on market and move on, rather than going at the high price. Having showings, having it take way too long. It's very frustrating. You got people coming in and out of your house. Your agent's calling you all the time, giving you negative feedback. It's just not a fun scenario. So start out on the right foot, price it properly. Still might need to make small adjustments, but know where you're at. And so that's definitely probably the biggest advice that we're seeing right now is misinformation from agents to homeowners. Yeah.
What's involved when someone asks you to give them an estimate of value on their home?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So if I get somebody reaches out to me, they want to know what their property is worth because they're either thinking about selling in the near future or maybe even 6 to 12 months out. But a lot of people, they're cautious, they're nervous, and So for me, what's involved, if you want me to come, we'll typically set an appointment. I'll come meet with you. We'll talk about your plans. Definitely no pressure, no obligation. I'll provide you with information so that you can make a decision, all right? Another question that people have often is, well, we don't want our neighbors to know that, we're having realtors over. So I have an unbranded vehicle. So when I come to your house, I just look like a regular visitor coming over to visit. So no worries there. Not going to, anything that we talk about is going to be in confidence. So I'm going to come over. We'll talk about your situation. You'll give me a tour of your property. Then I'm going to go and prepare a pricing analysis for you. Typically get back to you in writing with the document. So you've got something to review and something that you can look through. I'll also do digital copies as well for people that are out of the area. But typically it's, one meeting is gathering information, previewing the property, and then our second meeting is reviewing the pricing and then coming up with a plan moving forward. And for me, I'll provide you with information. There's no cost to that. There's no obligation. However, when you're ready to move forward, we can take the next steps at that time. That wraps it up for our question period. If you have any questions, reach out to me directly, or you can go on my website, kirkwalper.com. Thanks again, and have a great day.